Hey, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining me for this. This is a bonus episode, and I'm going to explain why I'm doing this bonus. You're getting a bit of a wealth of bonus episodes at the moment. I'm telling you about some of the updates to the show, throwing out a few extras to try and catch up with my interview episodes as well, get everything ready to be able to move into this next phase of how I want things to be running with the show. In the meantime, it's a bit of work to get all that on track. I'm recognizing that I have to put out a little extra in order to do that. This episode is just about a recent comedy set that I did. And so it might not be interesting for everybody, but I do feel that as speakers, this comedy bit, this humor, making people laugh is so important. Every professional speaker I talk about this with, the speaker bookers, the speaking professionals in the industry, whenever I bring up the topic of being funny and humor, everybody says the same thing, that it is super important. To the point where there's even standard jokes in the industry about, do you have to be funny to be a professional speaker? And generally the answer is only if you want to get paid. So this is a really important part. And whilst this is not me saying you have to do stand-up comedy and become a professional comedian, I do think open mic nights are a great way to develop this skill. It's super confronting, for sure. You risk bombing, absolutely. It doesn't feel good to bomb, perhaps. But the only reason I was ever even able to do this, it's been on my bucket list for a long time. It's like one of those things I wanted to do, was scared of doing it, and it was on my bucket list. I definitely want to do that, but I was putting it off, putting it off. Even when last year one of my friends told me that there was some English speaking open mic nights in Valencia, I was like, oh, great, I must go along to it sometime and check that out. And then at some point, I think it was just after interviewing Judy Carter, I decided that I would go for it. Judy inspired me to just go for it. And the fact that Judy, even now at this point in her career, is still doing open mic nights to challenge herself and to have fun with that. I love that. I think, yeah, okay, I should be doing this. This is a good thing. And so I booked in and I gave myself complete permission to flop. And thankfully, I didn't. Several people before me did. That made me feel better in case I did. And so I felt like the stakes were super low when I got on that stage. And it was okay if I flopped because I gave it a go. And I could always come back and try again if I wanted to. And so some of you maybe have heard this before if you've been following the show. This particular gig is only like my fifth or sixth open mic. I haven't been counting them. Maybe I should. But I think it's like my number 5 open mic night. This is still new. I'm still a baby when it comes to open mic comedy. But I was doing a 10-minute set for the first time ever. The biggest audience I've done stand up to, over 50 people, I think closer to 60. And a full set of comics, some of them professional comics, and a very professional venue as well. Much nicer venue than I've previously been performing in. And it was such an amazing night. And I wanted to bring you that experience, but also to highlight that this is still new for me. I'm still finding my comedy lens, if you like. I don't know if I ever really will, but I'm going to keep giving it a go. Some comedians take years to find that. I may not get that far, but I'm going to keep sticking with it. I'm getting some thoughts, some clues, maybe as to what that might be. And I want to keep practicing it. But I can't tell you how amazing it feels making people laugh when you've actually gone there with the intention of making people laugh. When the stuff that you find that funny in your own head that you think will be funny turns out to be funny to other people, but maybe not 100% of it. And that's why we have to test out material sometimes. I don't think it's a great idea to test out comedy material or jokes at paid gigs. If you're going to try and throw a bit of humor into one of your talks or workshops or anything like that, you're better to know that you're going to get a laugh than a groan or people just rolling their eyes at you. And one of the ways to do that is to practice being funny. So, this is a really important way, but super confronting because most of us are scared of it. I don't think it's unreasonable to have that fear, but we are more resilient than we often give ourselves credit for. And so just know that it's absolutely okay if you bump. As you watch or listen to this particular set, some bits are funny, some bits not so much. Some bits still need to work on the setup. This is not a perfect set by any means. I would say it's probably the best set I've done so far, but I wouldn't say it's a perfect comedy set. It's just improving on what I've been doing so far. I probably had more laughs this particular set than I've generally had in the sets that I've done before. And they've always been 5-minute sets up until now. Also, I was opening, which was a new experience for me. Opening is tough, and very glad that I wasn't on after the lady who was on after me, who was a professional and very funny. So I felt like I got to be a warm up for her, and it was just an amazing atmosphere. Nobody bombed. Everyone did really, really well. And I think you could probably spot the people who are really comfortable on stage and professional over the people who weren't so much. But the whole point of this is to have fun, practice some skills, make people laugh, enjoy the night, almost treat it as a night out, but you're doing some performance. And if you're like me and you enjoy performing, this is a really, really good way to do it. I think I've got far more out of doing stand-up comedy than, I hate to say it, than I ever did out of Toastmasters. I apologize, Toastmasters, but that's the truth. In fact, I think one of the only awards I ever won in Toastmasters was for a humorous speaking competition. So that maybe says a lot about me. Um, but with this and the storytelling that I've been doing, I'm going to maybe do some more storytelling soon as well. I think these are critical skills that we can be practicing, getting some stage time, and this is one way that I was doing that. But you may notice by I sound or seem a little less confident than maybe it would be better to be as a comedian, where I'm a little hesitant or maybe struggling to find myself, maybe not as well polished or rehearsed as I could have been, even though I was pretty well practiced and I got through the whole thing without even having to look at my set list, just about scraped through it. I hope you'll enjoy the stand-up. If you don't like it, if it's not for you, great, that's fine. Comedy is such a subjective thing. There's some naughty language in it, I will say that. If you don't like bad language, you may want to stop listening or skip over those bits or plug your ears. There's no warnings, but you'll probably get a sense where they're coming. And let me share this with you. The comedy nights I've been doing, the open mics that I have performed in, the people have been very supportive. The audiences, even if I haven't been super funny, have been super supportive. And the comedians as well. Everyone involved has been really encouraging. Whereas maybe been a bit less encouragement has been sharing stuff on YouTube. And you have to be ready for that. Like, YouTube is full of trolls and people who just want to share negativity and criticize others. And fair enough, we have to let that roll off our back. But those voices can definitely sting and hurt, and they do come through. This is where, myself included, we have to practice mental resilience and know that stuff's going to come up. Let it be water off a duck's back. Roll it off it. Say, oh, thanks for sharing. Thanks for your feedback. But don't react to it. Don't let it get you angry. Don't let it bring you down. Because probably far more of the people who enjoy it aren't actually commenting or saying stuff. People might put the likes on there. But the fact that someone says, "Oh, you're not funny," and then like get 7,000 views on a video and 18 plus likes and stuff, is like, well, I think there's some people who might disagree with that. So fair enough if you don't find it funny. If I was a singer, which I'm not, and I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon. But if I was a singer and you didn't like me as a singer, great, go and listen to someone else who you do like. But don't spend your time trying to tear other people down when other people do like someone else's singing. We see this all the time with like famous singers. You see it with famous comedians as well. People want to tear them down. It's like, well, that's a horrible way to be focusing your energy on pulling other people down when you could actually just move on and focus on what's good, focus on what you like. And absolutely fine to say, oh, you know what, I don't find them funny, or I don't like their singing, or I don't particularly don't love that person. That's absolutely fine. There are comedians and singers who I don't enjoy either, but I don't feel the need to go onto their social media or anything else and talk about how much I hate them. So I think that's a horrible way to invest your energy. Please don't do it. But there's not nearly enough encouragement or support in the world. And so when you do find environments where you get that, great, take it wherever you can find it. And don't pay too much attention to the negative voices. If there's something to learn or value in what they say, take it and use it. But if it's just to pull you down, and you do have to think, what is their intention with their comment? If it's just to pull you down, ignore it, move on, get on with your life. Shake it off, as Taylor Swift would say. So let's get to the comedy set. For those of you who want to, just remember there's some naughty words in here. There's some naughty themes. And I hope you enjoy it and it makes you laugh. And if it doesn't, I'm sorry. But I'm going to keep trying, keep going. And I hope you will as well. And I hope you'll share your comedy attempts with me as well. I would love to see it, hear from you. If you're inspired to get up on an open mic night and video it so that so you can share it with me, or if you're happy to put it out online, I'll come and give you some online support as well. All right, let's get to the set.
Thank you, Miss Fuck Off. I did actually prepare a comedy set, but my fucking dog ate it on the way here, so I had to copy Cynthia's homework, and so I'm just going to do my best with that. But thank you for coming. How you all doing? Thank God it's a bit dry, right? It's rained so much this week, I thought I was back in England. It's been terrible. But I'm really, really, really happy to be here tonight with you all and sharing some school memories, or more accurately, perhaps some school trauma. And I wonder if any of you were fortunate enough to have survived school back in the 1980s. Anyone? Loads of you are like, I wasn't even born, mate. Yeah. All right, a few fellow survivors. Well, welcome. You can tell who we are. You can see the haunted look in our eyes from having survived that whole experience. The 80s was a great time for music, a horrible time for fashion, and really a decade full of childhood trauma for those who were lucky enough. The only kids with more trauma from the 80s were the ones in Stranger Things. So, I don't know if you've ever heard of corporal punishment. Have you ever heard of corporal punishment? I hope you haven't. I hope you don't even know what it is. Well, I'm going to enlighten you anyway. For those who do, this is a form of punishment that was administered to children in schools in the form of like a bamboo cane, a leather strap, or a slipper, a backside of a slipper. Barbaric, right? Absolutely barbaric. And you think, oh yeah, well maybe in Charles Dickens' time that was a thing. It wasn't actually banned in the UK until 1986. 1986, so you could still technically give children a beating until then. But I'm happy to say I was never given any corporal punishment at school. I was a pretty good kid. But there was one kid at school, and the teachers, I don't know, they were kind of masochistic, especially the older ones, who had been very used to dishing out corporal punishment. You could see in their eyes, they still wanted to. They were still ready with the leather strap or whatever was available. But this one kid in my class, he was like what we call disruptive. Now he'd probably be diagnosed with ADHD or something like that, but he was ever so disruptive, especially in Mr. Collins' class, because Mr. Collins' class was boring. And so he started making noise. Rah, 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 rah. Shut up, boy. Go and stand in the corner. Rah, 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 even louder. You've got detention now. Rah, rah, even louder. It's like Tasmanian devil or something. But it just got louder and louder. And at some point, Mr. Collins snapped and whipped out a slipper that he'd obviously been keeping ready for such a moment in his desk drawer, and pulled the boy's pants down and gave him a bare-sided spanking in front of the whole class. Now, we never saw Mr. Collins again after that, and I think maybe they could have forgiven him for the spanking, but I think the bare-ass spanking was probably a step too far. But I'm happy to say I was a pretty good kid at school. But this is going to come as a shock to some of you, but I wasn't the most athletic of children. I know, take a moment to try and absorb that if you can. I wasn't very athletic, and so there was 1 hour on the school timetable each week that I absolutely dreaded. You can probably imagine what it is. PE, physical education. And at my school, because it was a bit common, it was always football, nearly always football, unless the weather was absolutely horrific and snow was covering everything, we'd be inside. So otherwise it was football. And it was an hour of ritual humiliation. And that was even if you remembered your gym kit, because if you didn't, they would make you go and do it in your underwear. So I know, these days this is shocking, right? But back then this was just normal. So 1 hour of ritual humiliation. And so even if you remembered your gym kit, you could be standing there, I would always be the last one to be picked, or one of the last boys to be picked. So that was humiliating. And then the other boys would be arguing over whether they wanted to pick the boy who couldn't kick properly, or pick the boy who possibly had potentially terminal asthma. And I didn't have asthma, I was the other one. So that was always humiliating as well. And I'd always be stuck in goal. Always the goalie. Not because I was any good there, not because I could actually do anything, but because I had a bit of a growth spurt. And so I was one of the biggest kids in my year at that particular time. And so they stuck me in goal because there was more of me, so more chance that the ball would be deflected on its way in there like some kind of human bollard. It was just really an hour of me standing in, usually rain, because this was England, in a muddy pool at the end of the pitch, looking at all the boys like generally 200 yards away, and thinking, how are they enjoying this? And that particular opinion has not changed in all this time. But there was one thing about PE that I did look forward to, and along with the growth spurt had come a bit of some other changes, shall we say, hair appearing in other places and certain interesting feelings that started to arise. And so there was one particular person who was the cause of a lot of, shall we say, spontaneous erections at that particular time, which was my gym teacher, Mr. Dover. So to the point where I'd have to stand with my gym bag in front of my crotch until it went away. And so it almost made it worth going to PE just to see Mr. Dover's hairy legs and chest through his gym kit. And sadly, Mr. Dover is no longer the source of spontaneous erections for me. But he would be in his 80s or something by now, anyway. But also, spontaneous erections at my age, they're not really a thing. I mean, I'd need an adrenaline shot, a bumpy bus ride, and some kind of splint to even get me halfway there. So it's probably not going to happen. But I wasn't a bad kid at school. I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it either, and I couldn't really be bothered. So that was really the thing. And so I used to get pretty much the same thing on my report cards all the time. Do you remember report cards? Did everyone else get those? So all my report cards, my mum still has them. God knows why. It's like 40 odd years later, she still has my old report cards. They all said the same thing. Could try harder. Needs to focus more. Needs to stop daydreaming. John would be a very good student if only he would apply himself. Apply myself? What do you mean? Apply myself with what? Fucking super glue? What am I, a tampon? Apply myself? What are you talking about? So I don't even know. And I think they only wrote this stuff. It was all bullshit because they couldn't say what they really wanted to, which was, dear delinquent parent, this is to advise you that your child is an absolute little shit who has no interest in school and will probably never amount to anything in life. Never amount to anything in life? Mrs. Alcott, look at me now, standing on a stage in Valencia doing stand-up comedy. Amount to nothing? Amount to nothing? I think not. I think not. Now, I wasn't really an enthusiastic child, and I didn't really get the gene for athleticism or for enthusiasm or really the intelligence gene. I've more got the Dunning-Kruger gene that was the one that makes you think that you're good at stuff when you don't really know what you're doing. So it's working out for me so far. But I didn't really do that well, and I wasn't that bothered at school. But I persevered anyway, and it wasn't so terrible. But despite the bad reports and everything else, there was one thing that I did get enthusiastic about. One day of days in the whole year, where the gods would be separated from the boys. The songs would be written for centuries to come about sporting achievements beyond that of any other athlete. We called it Sports Day. And so sacks would be jumped in, three-legged races would be run, and all sorts of weird and wonderful games would happen. Eggs would be balanced on spoons and all of that good stuff. This is what we called sports. This is the stuff where I had a real chance to shine. The parents would all come and watch, and I remember this particular sports day on my 10th year that I was ready, because I was so big now, I was ready for the sack race. I was going to win that easy, and I did. I raced to the start, jumped in my sack, got there before everyone else, absolutely trounced everybody else, won that no problem. The next race was the three-legged race, and they paired me with the skinniest boy in the whole school. And I think they were trying to give me a disadvantage to favour the school golden boy, Gary Seeley. He was like captain of the football team, and he was on telly one time, so everyone loved him. And so I took a slightly different approach to the three-legged race because I had the skinniest boy in the school attached to my leg. I just picked him up and ran all the way to the finish line and won the race. Now, thank you. Now, the teachers did say, technically there was nothing against the rules for doing that, but it wasn't maybe in the spirit of competition. So, but I won. I came to win. That's the most important thing. There was one more competition, and it was my biggest nemesis, the egg and spoon race. Who knows what an egg and spoon race is? It's a very English thing, I think, but you put an egg on a spoon and you have to race 100 metres and balance the egg on the spoon. So I was getting ready for this. I wasn't sure I was going to win it. Gary Seeley was looking a bit more like a dead cert. And other kids were being disqualified as the race was about to start because teachers were finding them gluing their eggs to their spoons. So I'm very glad that I decided to play fair. The race started and off we went. And I got off to a bit of a bad start because I couldn't decide whether to go fast and keep dropping the egg or whether to go slow and balance, and it came somewhere in between the two. But Gary Seeley was the only one that was further ahead of me, and he was very nearly at the finish line. I thought, damn it, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose these big races to Gary bloody Seeley. And just before the finish line, he dropped his egg. And then picked it up again and crossed the finish line and won the race. So I lost. But when the judges were announcing the prizes, there was a bit of murmuring. And all of a sudden it turned out that when he dropped that egg that last time, he cracked his egg, therefore disqualifying him from the competition, meaning I won. I'll take it. Thank you very much, I'll take it. I don't remember what the prize was, but I think it must have been edible because it didn't make it home. But it was a day of history. And, you know, I don't really understand competitiveness. I mean, I feel like at age 10, I reached the pinnacle of my athletic career. And where do you go from there? You know? So if you start competing, you have to keep working hard to keep competing. And then you get to the top, you have to keep working hard to keep competing. And when you're there, you also have to go on a million podcasts to say how you stoically overcame all sorts of challenges and forgone everything, friends, family, fun, and all of that stuff just to win. And then there's only one way down from there, only one way to go. So at 10, I decided that it just wasn't worth it, and I retired from athletics. Gracefully retired from athletics. Because, frankly, you know, if you get far enough behind in life, at some point you're going to think you're in the lead. So that's it from me. I have to go and write your report cards now. I'm going to put, could try harder on all of them. So, good night.